This is a little patch job on the tile, and what had happened is the valve, the original valve from this shower that's probably a good part of 35 years old, was leaking, and a retrofit part couldn't be found. So the customer got a plumber to change out the valve, put a new one in, and there's some issues with the scabbing of the wood that I had to do in order to put the new board on the wall to fix this. I'm not too fond of the plumber, how he ended up doing this valve here, because truly it needs a little bit of playroom, when it pulls out. And unfortunately, this guy, he sweated. In other words, he welded, the new pipe over here, and then, but on the other side, instead of sweating it, he went down to this T down here, and he put in this compression fitting, this double compression fitting, which I don't like. It'll probably be solid and no issues will become of it, but if this needs to be pulled out at all at the end, because the escutcheon's not going to fit against this tile. We got 1/2 inch sheetrock times 2 plus the tile, so you got about 1.25 inches to almost 1.5 inches of room here. Actually, when you feel it, it feels like it's thicker than that, and it doesn't really line up with the valve here. So by the time you put the escutcheon on, it's going to pull the valve out when these screws go in the top and the bottom, and can't really pull it out if there's no play. What I did is I took off this stud that was going up to here. You see where the nail was. I cut this stud out of here because that precluded this whole thing from pulling back if you need the extra room, and hopefully that will give it enough play. Right now it's pretty stiff. It's probably about 1/2 inch of play, and maybe that'll get it, but he really should have seen to it that since he had the new fixture and the escutcheon and all that stuff, he should have seen to it that this whole thing was actually out far enough so that when everything goes back on, there will be no issues. And I can't really move it now because it's all sweated and put in tight, and there's really no room to play with that I can get except for this little 1/2 inch. So we'll see how it goes. This alone, just putting this extra scabbing in down here and on the side so I can put my board up there, that took the good part of an hour, and so I'm going to put my board up and tile it and hope for the best. Alright, this job is done. Last time we were here, this whole area was opened up, and you saw where I had put in little 2x4s and wood shims and stuff like that in order to get the 2 layers of board onto the wall. At that point, this is about 4 hours later. A lot of drying time is involved. I usually don't try and do patch jobs like this in one day, but this customer is really difficult to try and schedule time with. So inevitably I had to do the full setting of the tile. Had a fan on it for a couple hours, and using mastic is not the easiest thing to dry. But once it got dry enough I was comfortable, then I went ahead and grouted it, so it's all completely grouted and ready to go. Actually, they can start using it tomorrow after it dries out good enough. This thing over this 2x4 piece that I had told you I'd cut off right there in order to give the valve more play is a lucky thing I did that, because when I put the screws in for the escutcheon, the cap that goes on there, it barely got a bite, and I had to really screw it in very tight on both sides just to pull out the valve far enough for the handle to fit on. So I'm lucky that did happen. Unfortunately, at the same time I pulled that out, probably about 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch, I ended up with the same discrepancy on the tub spout. So we're about 3/4 inch away from the wall over here, and I went ahead and put mastic inside of there, and I really hate doing that. I've seen that done before, where there's a discrepancy and people just put caulking or whatever. I don't have my pipe cutter or my torch or anything today because I hadn't planned on sweating pipe. Normally what I would do is there's a male nipple in here, and I would go ahead and heat that up and pull the nipple off. Well, actually I have extra ones. Cut that off by that 3/4 to an inch or so, replace the nipple, solder it in, and then I would have a nice flush back over here. But I'm not going to worry about it too much. Anyway, so the tile is all done, as you can tell. This old grout line over here, and now you have the new stuff coming down here, and the one missing piece of mud cap is put in. This probably should be caulked in at some point because all that is grout, but it's pushed in pretty good, so I'm pretty comfortable that that'll last for a while, but eventually that does need to be caulked. But anyway, so that's what a patch job is, and I'm out of here.